Welcome back, everybody. Down to Earth with me, Kristian Harloff. Thank you for sticking in there, and sorry for the brief hiatus. Last couple of days, I haven't had a video out. Been trying to get the studio intact, doing some new things to it, moving some stuff. I got a new table, other things. You don't care about that. What you do care about is that the new whistleblower, Matt Brown, the man behind releasing the Immaculate Constellation program, he has been talking to, well, there's a 3-part interview, I guess, with Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, and he said a lot of things. And one of the things that he said that's been making the rounds is this idea that we're really not in control, that maybe, the simulation theory, if you will, is indeed legit. So let me play this clip, and we'll see what you guys make of it afterwards. Here it is.
What I have learned is that we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted. I think we are left behind.
Humans.
I think normies, the normal humans, the people have been left behind. Us. Mm-hmm. People need to understand that we might have freedom of speech, but that has been subverted. We do not have freedom of inquiry. We are blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we are blocked from advancing in science. We are taught false science intentionally to prevent us from learning more. We live in the Matrix.
What the does that mean? Sorry for the cursing, but what does that mean? That's terrifying in a certain aspect, and the other aspect is going to be well, wait a minute, hold on. How do we know again that this guy is legit? How do we know? Yeah, sure, people are backing him and saying that he's legit. But how do we know? How do we know that this is... Look at the stuff that's going on with Lou Elizondo right now. We'll probably do a video. There are a lot of people now that are saying that Lou... There has been talk that Lou was a plant for misinformation. And now there's another report that is claiming just that. Now, does that mean that Lou is a plant for misinformation? No. But it's another claim that says it is. And then you could also say, well, maybe this guy is here to say the same type of stuff and to talk about this. And simulation theory is a thing that's been going around for a bit. So maybe that's the case. And now, why don't you just incorporate that with everything else that you're saying? But what if it isn't? What if it is indeed, when it comes to, I've told you my thoughts. I think it's all linked together with consciousness and everything else too. And how telepathically and these things that could happen with remote viewing and things of that nature. And I think that that's one of the things that he's talking about when it comes to the science and things that we're allowed to learn, not allowed to learn. There's select few people who get to know that knowledge, who don't get to know that knowledge. And this is something that is just, it really does blow your mind, because I always like to look at it, no matter what the story is. Now, because I made the mistake when we started doing the UAP Tuesday a long time ago. People have been asking where that show is. My goal is to try to bring it back. It's just a matter of timing. But when I was doing that show, we talked about the Miami Mall incident, and I shot it down really fast, right? And I said, and I can't remember what I said. That's not real. There's no way, or something along those lines. And I got people kind of pushing back on it and saying things along the lines of how do you know? You don't necessarily know. There are certain things here. There's nothing that's been factual. Things could be covered up. And I said, you're 100% right. Now, do I think that was aliens through time portals and things? I don't. But I'm not going to chastise anybody anymore who does think these things, because I always want to take that point of view of, well, what if it is? What if it was aliens in the mall? What if it is the Matrix, and we are living in a simulation? That's what dreams are, and that's what these other things are, and these distorted reality, this reality that is created for us, and all that. Because I was doing VR, the other day. And I was thinking to myself, like, look, VR is, I think the Meta headset is coming to like number 4 or something along those lines. What's number 70 going to look like? If 4 looks like it does, 3 or 4 looks like it does now, and you're able to construct certain things, and they eventually get the things. Like right now, when you put on a VR headset, and you see certain things, and you know you're in a VR world, and but there's a lot of things that seem real and other things too. But what if, as time goes on and technology gets better, and you're able to have senses and touch and all those types of things, and it starts to become more real in this fake reality, right? Well, who's to say that in 100 years that you can't do something along the lines of this, all this? And then the other thing is, who's to say that hasn't already happened? If it could get so real, and people say, by the way, and even when you saw this thumbnail and you said we're living in the Matrix, like, oh, it's people just watching the Matrix and thinking about this stuff, and then they, it comes to be now in this is what's happening, and blah 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 blah. The Matrix was based off the simulation theory. The simulation theory came first, and then came the Matrix. Matrix just became a huge blockbuster movie that made millions and millions of dollars. So it's just pop culture, and that's it. But it was pushed into the forefront because of the theory of the simulation theory, and then turned into a movie. And I'm just so curious on the what if, because, and I also like, and what I'm really going to start to go, is if they do another hearing, because that was the other story, one of the stories I missed, and I might cover it tomorrow or the next days. There's a hearing that they were supposed to do, but they were going to do it at the end of, I think, the end of May, and then that got pushed, and now it might be the end of the year, or it might be next year. I can't remember what's going on, but whenever that hearing, the next hearing does happen, and we went through this with the last hearing, and even the hearing before that, is scheduling that hearing and when it's going to happen. If this guy testifies under oath and says these types of things, coupled by Eric Davis saying the type of things that he said, and doing more tests on, say, the Nazca mummies, doing more tests on, say, the stuff that Avi Loeb found. I mean, that's how you start to really go, what the hell? And I guess the other question that I have for everybody who's watching right now, if this was and is a simulation, and all these things that we're living in this distorted reality that we're not going to get the knowledge because we're supposed to kind of go through these programs and these algorithms that are designed for us. Would you want to know? Would you want to be like Neo, sitting in that room? Would you take that pill to show you what's really going on? Or would you say, no, I'm good. Just give me the next one, wherever the next one is. And yeah, it's just, this is why I should bring back UAP Tuesday, because I want to talk to Peter about this. I could literally talk about this for like an hour, 2 hours. I'm so this one rattled me a little bit, because, like I said, I don't just say, He's pretty confident in all the things that he's been talking about, and I haven't dove into the full part yet, and I want to, and I might do another video after I watch the full part, because this guy's intriguing. He's intriguing, and he looks scared out of his mind that he's saying these things, and the things that he wants to actually get out there and not hold it secret. So this one was baffling for sure. Anyway, what say you? What do you make of this? You think it's just a bunch of BS? Or do you think, no, wait a minute, this might actually say a little bit more? But the question, I guess, the follow-up is, and it very well might be in the next part. That's why I want to watch it. And you guys can tell me if you've seen the whole thing. I want to know, did they do a follow-up of explain on that? How do you know that? How do you know for a fact? Because that's my question. My next one would be, well, how do you know? Are you theorizing like everybody else does? Or from these things that you've had privy of having the information to, that you can make that hypothesis to say, yeah, no, that's what that is. We know that that's what it is, and oh my God, we actually are living in the Matrix. Like, how did you come to that conclusion? Because I could say, you know what? Deja vu and all that. Yeah, I do. We're living in the Matrix. Why do you listen to me? Now, obviously, I didn't work in the program that he did. But you'd ask me even if I said that, well, how do you come to that conclusion? Well, I just have a theory. Well, then, okay, you have a theory. But like I said, you might have watched the entire thing, and I'm about to. The question is, did he follow it up with how does he know that? That's what I want to know. Anyway, crazy stuff all the way around. Put your thoughts in there. Let me know what you think. I really appreciate you being here today. Subscribe, do all of that. I'll be back here tomorrow. I got another video for you coming out. Thanks again. See you soon. Bye-bye.